I want to talk about Heroes. Next month, we are sitting down with Saul Rubinek, and I am ecstatic that character, his presence extends, reverberates well throughout those, beyond those 2 episodes. His speeches are sensational. And it was, I think, just a tremendous coup to get him for that role. Tell us about, and Michael and Terrell and Amanda and Rick. I mean, Don. Everyone is on their game in that episode, which I think started off as 1 hour and became 2. Tell us how the story for Heroes came about and evolved, please.
That episode was a very strange journey and a winding road. It started with inspiration. There's an episode of MASH. I don't know if you are familiar with it, but
watched it, all of it.
Yeah, the basically a documentary filmmaker comes to the unit, and I always loved that episode. Just a different way of exploring it, and I also thought there was an interesting sort of angle to explore about the secrecy of the Stargate program, and that here are, people saving the world every week and no one knows. They don't get medals and, accolades and all of the sort of, and they don't ask for it. I don't think they're like sitting there going, well, I'm supposed to, I should be getting, the best seat in the restaurant, or
they're going to work
back all the time from the public. Yeah. But to just kind of look at their job, to take a step back and say, wait a minute, who are the people and how do they feel about what they do within this program? Because it is pretty incredible. Like after we had this thing where, a lot of times we'd be doing an episode and the cast would cease. There would be like a shot of them seeing a spaceship or something amazing, and it would be, obviously on a green screen, and they'd be standing there, and we'd be like, okay, now you're seeing the incredible thing, and we cut to their faces, and they'd be like, and we show some little bit of awe.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, but we've seen this like a million times now, right? Like, what is it? Why is it different or bigger, more special than the thing we've seen before? And I'm like, well, we're kind of hoping the audience feels it's incredible. So it would be nice if you, kind of showed that a little too. Right. And so for me, like, part of what the approach to Heroes was, let's really examine how incredible the Stargate program really is, and the people who we're following. So we built that and sort of figured, well, what if this documentary filmmaker, was this guy coming in and he was making essentially a time capsule piece that he couldn't even release. Here he is put in that position of having to record this and not ultimately have it seen. So we brought in, we cast Saul. He came in. Honestly, he had a lot of ideas about his character. He really took it. He took it on. It was very personal to him. We had a lot of conversations. He did a lot of writing suggestions in the margins of the script. We had a lot of long meetings, and there were a lot of things that ultimately got built out on set too, like interview ideas that played out a little longer than they were intended to. And I got in the editing room And the show was long. I mean, it was quite long. And a typical episode is supposed to come in at 42 something, 42 minutes and something seconds. And I think the first cut of this was like 58 minutes. And that was really long. I mean, we normally were, you know, a long episode was 52, and then we, you know, that was just a first cut, and then we sort of whittle it down to 47, 48. Sometimes we would actually be short and have to go shoot new scenes. That happened. But this was not just 58. It was a pretty good 58. Like a lot of times you'll watch something and be like, oh, this is full of error, or, you know, just scenes that need to be cut. And I didn't want to cut a lot of it. And I also, you know, from an economic standpoint, had learned some very good lessons from Brad and John about taking advantage of things. Like, I mean, I didn't really want to do a clip show that year. Clip shows were ways of sort of shortening the schedule of shooting by using footage that we had shot before, and hopefully creative and you know, interesting ways. One of my favorites is Citizen Joe. But, you know, also because of Dan Castellaneta, but
yeah, brilliant.
Yeah. So, I mean, I saw this as an opportunity, and then it became a question of logistics, right? How do we actually execute it? And at that point, I started spinning ideas about how to fill it out into a two-parter. And, you know, I had to talk to the network about it. I had to sort of look at the schedule and see if there was an episode, because this was shot to be in the first half of the season.
Oh.
And then I started, you know, how do we sort of organize the director's schedule, because I knew Andy, who had directed the first 58 minutes, needed to direct the scenes that would turn it into a two-parter. And I was trying to do something that I actually didn't even know whether it would work, which was to not add time to the end or tell more story, because it obviously had a you know, a satisfying ending, but insert scenes. So make it longer, but also didn't want to necessarily do more of the same. And I thought, if the whole story is about getting to the underlying layers of the Stargate program, the secrecy and the challenge for Saul's character was to essentially penetrate that layer of secrecy, and his frustration at not being able to really tell the full story, even though it wasn't going to be seen by the world. You know, the military sort of layers, and how he's trying to tell this story about the sacrifices and what real heroes are doing out on the front lines. So I invented this other secret investigation that was going on at the same time. And those scenes were written, and then the scenes about that investigation were then sort of added. And we were really super lucky to then get Mr. Picardo to come up and play that character. And so we actually ended up taking a hiatus, like our summer hiatus of shooting between the half seasons. And we came back to shoot scenes from Heroes, which was then moved to a two-parter that aired later in the season. So we actually shot something earlier to fill that hole in the schedule early in the first half. So it was a weird, I mean, we even had a situation where I get a call to come down to set because Rick was in the control room and had gotten a haircut, which he normally does when he comes back from hiatus. And he just looked totally different than he was supposed to in a scene that he was playing like immediately after. So he was
He did. So
shot.
Jack didn't have time to get a haircut. Even you couldn't pull an
No, no,
appendicitis thing.
no. It was shot literally 6 to 8 weeks later. Um, and his hair was completely different. It is in the scene. You can see it. Uh, so yeah, I was like, well, I guess somehow O'Neill in the interim went down to the salon in Iron Mountain, and
What are you gonna do?
yeah.
Put a wig on him? Come on. Hey everyone, it's David. Hope you're enjoying the clips during the break. We will be returning in the spring. In the meantime, are you good with English? Are you one of those people who take pride in your grasp of it? Well, we have a great team over here transcribing the backed catalog of Stargate interviews and have dozens more to go. If you're interested in joining me and a small Stargate diehard community looking to preserve the stories brought to Dial the Gate into text form, then please email me at dialthegateshow@gmail.com. There's a little something in it for you, and you'll be helping to pass along the stories to future generations of fans who have yet to discover the show. Thanks so much for watching Dial the Gate.